Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have landfall. So we're back. I saw those lily pads starting to pop in and I just about flipped out because I'm tired of seeing nothing but ocean. Now, as soon as we have a definite coastline, I'm going to place... Oh, this is really good. Get a couple of these. Oh, is that a... Oh my god, really? Wow. Good timing. Good. Okay. As soon as I have a definitive coastline, I'm going to place a cobblestone block on it. That way, if we circumnavigate this entire continent, we will know it. And I use cobblestone markers for this because cobblestone doesn't naturally generate unless you have lava, and that means that, well, there's only one way that could happen. Oh, blue sheep, look at that. And we do not have to kill anything for quite some time. Now, looking for carrots and potatoes. That is the main objective here, so... Carrots, potatoes, diamonds, that sort of thing. Iron, of course. But the main thing is the carrots and the potatoes. We are really wanting to get a healthy herbiculture in this server. So the point is we have to find this before somebody else finds something, because I know that Brave was playing earlier and he went some direction and found carrots, but then he died, so I don't expect him to have put anything aside, like replanted anything. Like, nothing against him or anything, but like if I was to have found it, I would have like taken like a half a stack back, and then I would have put like one carrot back in the ground just in case I died and we couldn't find any carrots elsewhere. That one lonely carrot would still be there. Not that it would grow, because it wouldn't be loaded or anything like that, but I mean, still, it's a possibility. Where there's life, there's possibility. Is this a desert? Nope. Just a beach. I'm just thankful we have some kind of landfall now. And we landed with a little bit of time to explore again. I'm listening to a podcast of it's a dude who watches movies, and I don't know if it's always bad movies. It's a fairly new podcast that I've discovered, and I'm listening to him review a movie that I have seen called Fateful Findings, which is one of those so bad it's good movies, and I'll be honest with you, it's quite a masterpiece of the genre. It's like so hodgepodge is the word I would use. Like there's no cohesion in the story or anything. It's like it's like if it's like a movie made without the restraint or the direction of Birdemic. We'll just go there. Alright, it looks like we're gonna have to bed down for the night. I'm going to go... Okay. So we just explored this entire thing. So let's get, look at it over here. Perfect. Right over here. I don't know how far I'm gonna get before I... Alright, now we will place a couple... Yep, there we go. I'm gonna have to make a new shovel. I guess I'll put it... Guess I'm gonna put it right there. Yep, it's not pretty, but it works. Now let's... Well, shits. We're gonna get down in here. And I'm gonna make one more torch. That'll get rid of that one stick. And I'll be here in the morning. Alright, we are on the clock. We are zeroing in on a village which could have stuff in it. Oh god, we're about to find out if this is the village that he had found. The odds are not great that it would be the same village, but I don't even see any crops. So, well, oh, there's crops. Could there be anything besides wheat? Could there be anything besides wheat? Nah, I don't think so. Don't think so. But that's okay. That's okay. It's all part of the game, and we don't need to take up any of this because, look, somebody else is going to come through here someday, and they're going to need it. This is also too far away for us to be using for any kind of other. Oh, whoa. Now that's useful. Nice. Alright. So now we're going to go on. So far we've gotten a... Wow. That's a lot of iron. That is a lot of iron. Does this mean that... Whoa, what's that? Oh no. Does this mean that... Wow. This is kind of sad. I think this might be the end of this continent. Well, I'm going to place yet another piece of cobblestone right here. And then we'll get in here and we will just continue to just circumnavigate this place. I'll circumnavigate this bitch. We have no proof whatsoever that this is... the only thing that makes me think that we're circumnavigating this thing is that we're now going the opposite direction. But I mean, maybe we haven't gone back as far as we came out. So maybe maybe this is a bigger continent. I'll keep my fingers crossed. It's not looking good though. This is looking like a very small continent. With it doubling back like this is not a good sign. Yep, we're gonna see the jungle coming up here very soon. Yep, there we are. Oh, look at that! Jungle Temple. Oh yeah, let's go in. Now let's go ahead and get some food so that if we get attacked, we can make it out. Shit, there's something in here. Somebody is in here. Alright. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this Vessel of the Dragon. Then we're gonna get these chopping blocks. Alright, now, I'm gonna have to make a couple pickaxes. Then we're gonna have to make... Shit. There's a skeleton at some point. Yep. There we go. Okay. Whoa, don't even start with me. I will fuck you up. is going to get tight with our inventory here. We're going to leave those, well, we're going to leave this redstone here. We're not going to take any more redstone. Oh man, nothing in here. That's kind of a letdown. Okay, there we go. We got that. Now we're not going to take, we'll take the redstone repeater. Yep. We don't need that. 2 pieces of gold. We'll place that there. And we're good to go in here. Now let's try to get back out before the sun goes down. Can we? Alright, looks like we can. Let's run. And do we have time to get back into our boat? See how I run? I ran hard. So we got a second vessel with a dragon. That's actually pretty good. And we're gonna have to do a little, oh look at, nah. I got excited, but I shouldn't be. Alright, we're going to spend the night on this little island over here. We're gonna have to put, oh, whoa, what do we got down there? I don't see anything. We do have a little bit of iron in there. We need 4 pieces of iron, but we don't need it yet. We're not going back home yet. So let's use this tree. I love doing this. It's a cheap, easy house. What's this? You always have dirt. Dirt is easy to get. It's easy to get. So what you can do with these homes, with these, it's like a prefabricated home. Look, the light will not be obfuscated. Now, we're gonna make ourselves a chest. Don't know what all we can put in here, but okay. We're gonna place the mossy cobble. I'm gonna put the bread in there. We don't need that bread. We can make bread. Let's see what else. The arrows. We don't need arrows. I need the iron. I need the gold. We're gonna have to get on eating all this stuff. Is what we're gonna have to start doing. There we go. We got some space in our inventory now. Yeah, we're gonna have to start eating. So now we're just gonna chill here until morning. So I'll go ahead and stop recording until then.
Oh shit, I'm sweating. This movie is a madhouse.
So I have one compliment to throw out. We're talking about Leah, the character of Leah.
Sure.
Leah is by far the best thing in the movie. Jennifer Autry, the actress, is a trade show booth babe. It's kind of a derogatory term,
really?
but she's a trade show presenter.
Okay.
And she does the best acting in the movie. I mean, it's Fateful Findings, so that's not saying much. But she's also easy on the eyes. I developed a little bit of crush on old Jennifer Autry there.
You know who she reminded me of, especially in that shot when he's eating the spinach, and they keep cutting this close-up of her face of her smile, like, oh. Like, she reminded me of Catherine Isabella.
Catherine Isabel from Ginger Snaps?
Isabel.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Isabel.
Catherine Isabel?
Isabel.
She's a belle.
She is. She's got those big eyes and, like, the good kind of big smile.
Yeah, she looks a little bit like Shirley Manson from Garbage. That probably explains my crush.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good comparison, too. And, yeah, you know, she does the best with what she's given, but, you know, it's not much.
Well, granted, her as a trade show presenter means she's the only one with any kind of, like, public speaking experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she can memorize...
She delivers lines.
She can memorize lines and deliver them with some kind of weight and meaning. Diamond in a sea of glass, to quote Neon Demon.
Yeah, it is definitely goes a long way in this movie. And we have not even, I mean, we kind of mentioned it really briefly, but what ends up kind of being the climax of the movie, because there's 17 climaxes going on, is that throughout the movie, I guess he's an author, but he's been tapping away on his...
They're writing about government secrets.
Well, he's not right. He's hacking. He's hacking into all the government and corporate secrets that are... he's going to expose all of the corruption, both government and corporate.
Right, and how they're in bed together and all that kind of stuff. But the hacking is such a non-thing in the movie. I don't get it.
Well,
it never ever shows him doing it. He's just sitting at his computer typing... And there's nothing on. Well, I mean, there's clearly nothing on the screen, but the angle just doesn't show us the screen.
No, it's just all those laptops, like you said, they're dead.
But every time he sits at the computer, it's just him threatening to pass out or getting frustrated and throwing books at his computers and breaking the keys. And the hacking is just such a non-thing.
I think Neil Breen has like a laptop thing because of what I've seen of Double Down. He's some rogue agent guy that works out of his car, and he's got like 3 laptops. He's got like 2 laptops in his trunk and then 1 laptop he's working on. Like, he just likes having lots of laptops around.
Again, I'll get into that because wish fulfillment, I think. Anyway.
Sure.
So the climax of the movie is...
Climaxes, because there's a whole thing where he has to leave Leah in the middle of the night, and that's another nobody gets out of bed like Neil Breen sequence. He
slithers out of bed like a snake, and I think it was because he was naked and didn't want to just rip the sheets off.
When that scene was going on, he's like slinking away, and I just thought about that line in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, where it's like he slithered and slunk.
Yeah.
Like he's just like he slunks away. And then he like drives out to the desert and leaves a message about, I had to go somewhere, Leah. I love you, Leah. I love you, Leah. Even that gets repeated. And then he drives out to the desert, and the golden book that, we didn't mention, very important, that glitter is poured on the book.
Lots of gold glitter is sprinkled in this movie.
Out of frame somewhere.
Somebody's
for some
hand
reason.
is up there doing a little bit of chef seasoning.
But he goes out to the desert, and the book on the stand is there, and then there's the shadow people, and he says something like, you know, is this what it's supposed to be, or whatever the fuck. And then
to prove how little this scene affected me, I have no notes about it.
Well, I had to stop taking notes on this movie because I was just like, oh my God, I'm writing down everything.
In a vain attempt to understand what's happening.
Yeah, that's all. I was just like, okay, I need to be able to piece this together later because I know there's huge chunks in the movie I'm forgetting. But then I guess what the movie was building to was him releasing these national and international government and corporate secrets that expose something. Like, it's never made clear what he's exposing, or it's just secrets. And
right. It's like it's uncovering a big conspiracy about how they're corrupt, and they don't say exactly which way how, but it's the banks and it's the government. So there's this big speech scene in front of, I don't know, the Orange County Municipal Courthouse or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like a library or something.
Exactly. He's just green screened in front of it. But then he talks about how he's exposing all this crap. And then around the United States, senators and Congress people are offing themselves left and right because of the shame. Like, suddenly it's just seppuku city. And
it is the most... That was when, like, I'm laughing throughout the movie, and I'm, like... putting my hand on the top of my forehead, like, what's going on? But this sequence, and it's great because it's at the end of the movie. This sequence broke me, like in a way that I actually physically had to stand up and like
walk around,
walk away. Yeah, I had to walk away from the movie.
I had a similar thing when the guy said, "I resign today as president of the bank."
Yeah. His delivery is so amazing because he's like, "I resign today as president of the bank." That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly how he delivers that line.
The bank.
And then he just really slowly pulls a fucking gun up into frame.
Yeah.
And shoots.
He just Bud Dwyer's it right there.
He totally Bud Dwyer's himself. And then I guess this is supposed to be going around the country, but it's all the same 4 microphones podium.
Right, yeah.
And the same green screen background, so it's like it made it seem that like Neil Breen's exposing all these secrets and like all these people are like right to the left.
Yeah, it's just a non-stop parade of suicidal politicians and business people. Yeah, just one will go up to the mic and then and then they'll go home and turn their car on in their garage or whatever. A cavalcade of suicidal politicians.
There's the fucking the female senator who gets up. She's like, "I'm resigning as your senator because the people deserve something better." And she's like talking like a politician, and she sounds like, "The people deserve this. The people deserve." Cut to her sitting in her car, turning the exhaust on, and then the other.
There's the guy with the noose. Who probably has it in his coat pocket when he's up on the fucking podium.
Fuck me. Oh my God. It was such an amazing moment where I literally threw my hands up in the air and God, I was like, I can't handle this right now. It is one of the most amazing sequences I think I've ever seen in cinema history. It's so funny.
So also, can we talk about how many shots there are of clothes dropping onto the ground? And the same shot every time, essentially, whenever he has sex with somebody?
Yeah, and it's like obvious that they never... There's not a full-on boob in this movie, is there?
No, but there are a lot of smushed titties face down in the bed.
Yeah.
Same shot, essentially, with Jim and Shrill Frigid Wife, where she's just, face down in the bed, titties smushed, right in focus, and then Leah has the same shot later. So
yeah, and then when his because I wanted to mention the same thing about when Svetlana kills herself, Neil Breen does the same thing that he did with Jim, where he comes in, he's like, "Oh no, Jenny," or whatever the fuck, and he's like, "Jenny, I knew it was you. I knew it was you, Jenny. It was you, Jenny." And then he does the whole like screaming no thing, but they cut the dialogue track, so it's just Neil Breen really blankly going like, "No." like that's the sound that I heard, even though they cut it out.
Can we talk about just how, we've gone through the plot of the movie and sort of hit highlights and stuff like that, but can we talk about the sort of impetus behind movies like this and why all of them are so similar?
I guess, because we do have an interesting perspective in that we have watched a lot of Z-grade, no budget, shot on DV kind of stuff. I'm in one of those movies.
Yeah.
So it's like we have a unique perspective on it, because I think a lot of people who, their only diet of movies are stuff that's theatrically released, they see something like this and it's such an anomaly. This one is, this really does feel otherworldly. But, we see this and it's like, yeah, there are a lot of it's male, usually not super young male
right,
directors.
It's middle-aged guys. A lot of them are from the East Coast of the United States, or they're like Tommy Wiseau, where they kind of fetishize Americanism. Like Tommy Wiseau's this ultimate patriot. And so much of this stuff is just, these very inspired men like Tommy Wiseau and Neil Breen who just are just endless founts of writing. Obviously they have a lot to say, but ultimately they're untalented, and they are untalented to the point where they are unaware of how untalented they are. It's, what is it, the Dunning-Kruger effect or something like that, where the less experienced you are, the more likely you are to overestimate your ability?
Probably. It depends, because I've seen Tommy Wiseau. I have a lot of issues when specifically talking about Tommy Wiseau, because Tommy Wiseau was this guy.
Yeah.
He was this guy who made a movie, who had no, who was so incompetent and so naive and unaware, no self-awareness. And then when he saw how it caught on, like the audience that caught on with, he just decided to turn into that. And then like all the projects,
he's a businessman, and he saw an opportunity to make money, and I don't blame him for that. But he's a weird ego trip motherfucker. But
I don't believe in him as somebody as like a Neil Breen or some of these other directors of like they have a vision, they have something they want to say. Because after The Room turned into what it was, all I've seen Tommy Wiseau in are like very self-aware, stupid things.
Right, but occasionally you'll see an interview with him where you're like, no, maybe this guy doesn't really know.
I don't know, like he's been on Tim and Eric, and they're very good at fooling people into not realizing they're playing a part.
Right, and getting natural performances and using the humor from that.
But I've also, like, he did a short film that was The House That Dripped Blood on Alex, which sounds as stupid as it is. And it's very, like, self-aware, like, humor, trying, purposely being bad.
Right, and the guy that made Birdemic 2, which tried to be self-aware. And, I've never even seen Birdemic 2. I have no desire to, but I loved the first one.
I've never seen Birdemic, honestly.
It's pretty great. But so many of these movies that these amateur filmmaker guys make are about where they put themselves in the movie. Essentially, of course, the writer is always trying to put himself in a movie, but about how, these successful men who aren't too rich, just rich enough, about how they're desired by attractive women who never appreciate the things they do. So it's these men who are very important. I can hack government secrets. I'm so good at this. But women never appreciate them. And, of course, all the women around them are throwing themselves at them, but also not wanting them, and very attractive, but also in that sort of trophy wife way.
This is what you're describing is every Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, but this is something different. It's guys with like hair plugs. I used to work for a guy like this, but he was so repugnant and like so into himself that he couldn't even sustain a relationship. This is a total weirdo. And I met people like this when I worked at the Apple store who would come in and be like, I had this video footage I want to edit, and it seemed like I missed a big businessman from New York or New Jersey or whatever. And I'm like, movie. Dude, you ain't shit.
That's why when I say the Neil Breen thing, it's like, well, either he's got enough money, because let me tell you, those sets ain't sets. They're his house or his friends' houses. Like that Ferrari is like that dude's Ferrari. He was like, hey, you got a Ferrari, you want to be in my movie? Exactly.
And this is what making amateur movies is about. You find a guy, oh, we need a Ferrari for this scene. Is there a guy with a Ferrari we know that'll let us borrow it?
And like on some level I appreciate that, because like when I was making student films, when I mean student films, I mean like high school and middle school and stuff.
Yeah, true shoestring amateur stuff.
Absolutely. And it was just like, hey, you've got a house, like, oh, you live next to this park, that's where we're going to go shoot this. Like shot so many movies in parks.
Yeah.
You just use what's available to you. And I think it's interesting to see filmmakers who what's available to them is more. And I think that's part of kind of the frustration is like, you seem to have more access to locations and actors and expensive stuff, but you're using it in all the wrong ways, and you don't understand how a movie is crafted.
Right. Yeah. It's a base level imitation, a surface level imitation of what a movie is. It's like a movie from another dimension, or the first movie made by Martians or something like that. It's just a total misunderstanding of what cinematic language is. And again, we were talking about the laptops. I've seen a lot of people who think they're very important, multiple cell phones, multiple laptops. Oh, I have to have so many of these computers because I need this one to do this and I need that one to do that. I've known so many people like this that I sold computers to when I worked at Apple, that I taught how to use computers, and I'm like, gosh, the level of delusion that keeps these people up and running is frightening.
But honestly, I'm sure there's a lot of that going on in much more banal and uninteresting facets of everyday society.
Yes, but these people are directing it into movies, and like outsider art when it's cinema is particularly bad.
Yeah, but I think it's so hard when you talk about what makes a quote so bad it's good. And I don't even really like that term. I mean, I use terms like craptacular or awfulsome. And what it really means is like there's some level of naivete. I've seen plenty of bad movies that aren't enjoyable because it's like, oh man, they're just the pacing is all wrong, or they're slapped together too bad, or the performances are bad but not funny bad.
Right. And the early 2000s was the heyday for this, because you had so many direct-to-DVD horror sequels, and almost all of them were bad in the same ways.
Yeah, I mean, the DV boom really was, I mean, if you really get into that, it was huge.
Yeah, it was
Like,
enormous. Like
anybody-
the sheer amount of content. Like you'd open up a Fangoria and be overwhelmed with the amount of low budget sequels to like Pulse and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible work going into these terrible things, you know?
I think it just became once consumers on a certain level, because again, it's like, it's consumers who were able to buy decent, you know, high grade cameras, but it still meant you had to have a little bit of money. Like,
Right.
it wasn't like anybody could do it.
But money doesn't
Like-
buy cinematic talent. You can go to film
No.
school and you can graduate from film school. It still doesn't mean you're capable of directing well.
No.
I mean, hey, grab a boom, you know, fix a light, learn how to use the Avid. They're very, very valuable skills, and you can get really, really good at them, even without having gone to film school. But having that production experience is crucial. But sometimes you come out of it and you just can't direct your way out of a paper bag, and that's Neil Breen.
I think that's why when you see a lot of these, you know, DV stuff, and Lord knows I've seen more than any human should. You probably have too.
Yeah, well, back before Netflix, you know, back in the heyday of Blockbuster when the DVD market was still strong, I rented so many things for, you know, it's what is it when they call a label? It's a label buy when you buy a bottle of wine because of the label. It's,
Oh,
you know,
right,
I
sure.
bought a book because of its cover, essentially. I did that with a lot of DVDs. Starship Troopers 3, rented that.
I didn't go down that route. I was smart enough to avoid that.
Better than Starship Troopers 2.
Yeah, like these kind of movies, when you see it's like, oh man, when you see it's like one guy, it's always a guy writing, directing, and starring. It's always like, I think especially in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was just everybody was wanting to be the next Tarantino.
That's how we got guys like Troy Duffy.
Oh yeah, and like oh god, what the fuck's his name? I can't even remember now. He made Schizophrenic and these awful fucking gang movies. But I mean, it was just like, oh man, like Quentin Tarantino basically did the greatest possible version of what these guys like. He had like 2 or 3 locations that he could shoot, but he knew how to shoot a movie. He knew how to write a movie. He had the brilliant idea to not be the star. Like, which is what so many of these guys do. They want to be, you know, at the front of it.
He had Harvey Keitel and
Yeah, I mean, he had real actors, you know, stuff like that, not just his friends.
Lawrence Tierney and Michael Madsen. Shit.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's so many other factors, and it's like, sure, I'm sure, you know, it sounds like we're shitting on these guys, and I'm sure there are good movies out there. And I'll even say this, like, I think everybody should see Fateful Findings. I think this is one for the books.
When it comes to, like, watching amateur cinema gems, this is one of the ones up there with The Room and Birdemic and stuff like that that is notable for how strange it is and how enjoyable it manages to be because it's terrible. But it's that special brand of terrible.
It is, and I mean, you know, kind of the cornerstone of that whole So Bad It's Good thing has become Troll 2, and Troll 2 is actually kind of an anomaly because it is, you know, of course it's a lower budget production, but, you know, it's shot on film and it's got some production
There's
value
a sense
to
of
it.
decorum to it. You know what I mean? It's
And, well, and it also falls into that whole Italian, you know, genre rip-off stuff.
exactly, yeah.
That is a whole different kind of brand of bad movies because there's tons of those that are nigh unwatchable. And this is different. Like Fateful Findings is different because it's like it's one of these egotistical, you know, forerunner guys who is just at the forefront of everything in the movie. It is clearly coming straight from his brain, unedited.
Right, and it's what I admire about Neil Breen is that his writing has this level of childlike imagination where it's nonsensical, but he's just writing free flow, and this happens, then this happens, but oh no, and this happens, and then he teleports, and it's like a kid telling a story, and in many ways that's sort of the purest, unbridled, just let it flow out kind of thing. It makes for nonsense, but it gets things done.
Yeah, it's at least intriguing nonsense.
Right. Trying to make
Like-
sense of all the crap that's rattling around in your brain is probably one of a writer's hardest jobs. To take all of the stuff that's trying to flow out of you and channel it into something with structure and sense about it is not an easy thing. And when you're able to just kind of put it out there without much thought about, oh, does this make sense or is this crap, like with no sense of insecurity about it, I don't know. There's something I admire about it.
That's what I say. Like, you know, for all the, you know, laughter and ragging on stuff, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? Like, this dude made a movie. He made it his way. And like, if I had one movie under my belt that I did that. And even if it was, I was like, yeah, it's not good, or people are watching it and laughing at how bad it is. At least it's like, you know what, I did it. And this guy has multiple movies to his name. I think he's still making movies. And it's like, okay, good. I'm glad he's doing that. And I'd rather he be doing it than a lot of the other fucking Z-grade metalhead horror directors. Like, at least it's like that's the problem, is like we just see so many of those crap horror movies because horror's easy, and disposable and has a built-in market for the most part.
Right. I remember Dimension Extreme, those kinds of movies. I mean, some good movies like Greg McLean's Rogue got released under the Dimension Extreme label. But stuff like Pulse 2 and Pulse 3 and
dude, those are even higher brow than I'm talking about. Stuff that's like shot even on like VHS, like the VHS movie boom.
Oh, Trauma stuff, kind of,
Yeah, even Trauma at least had film stock.
I'm talking about after Trauma got their hands on mini DV.
Oh, sure. And I mean, that's a lot of they just distributed.
Yeah, well, I did a movie like that called The Los Angeles Ripper, which is now called LA Maniac.
Okay.
Yeah, that Trauma picked up, and I reviewed it back when the director sent his screener into Chud himself, and I included a long disclaimer at the front. It's like I don't get a whole lot of joy out of telling some dude, who doesn't know any better, that his movie is shit.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
No, it's not, because it makes me feel like a fucking snob and an asshole. But I think I have to be
because
a little bit.
But here's the thing, like with movies like that, like with Fateful Findings, this is a movie where I'm like, I wouldn't sit in front of Neil Breen and like try to coyly rag on him or anything. I would be genuinely interested. I'm like, I want you to like tell me about this. I want to know.
Yeah.
And that's in a way an endorsement of the movie, because there's plenty of other movies that I've seen that are trying to be weird and trippy and unknowing and like, oh, I saw a David Lynch movie.
Right, yeah, like I don't give a fuck about whatever it is you have going on in this movie. But in this movie, I do have a lot of burning questions.
Yeah.
And the curiosity I have about them is genuine. Like, what the hell was really going on there?
What was that fart? Like, what was the fucking fart wisp? What is the black cube? Who are the shadows? Like, and it is frustrating in the like, what is going on? But it's also, I think that's part of what makes the movie enjoyable. And if you have any kind of taste for these kind of movies, you absolutely owe it to yourself to see Fateful Findings. If you are somebody who really does just see like, mainstream theatrical releases, watch this movie, because you will see that there are so many other types of what the fuck cinema out there. It will open your eyes to a brand new world. I don't know if it's a good world, but it's definitely one that you need to be aware of.
I think understanding amateur cinema is important because it actually helps you understand professional cinema a lot better.
True.
It helps you recognize the differences in what makes a professional film and where that level of gloss comes from. Like, for instance, Neil Breen, I think this guy's got one Cucaloris, or a cookie. He's got one cookie that he carries around with him to every set. A Cucaloris is like, in theater, it's like a gobo, where it's a shape that you put in front of a light so it casts a certain shape on the wall.
Okay.
A Cucaloris is a little bit different in that it's not actually part of the light. You don't put it into the body of the light itself. It's just the thing that sits on a stand and you put some sandbags at the bottom, and it kind of looks like sun shining through a tree on the wall. He like carries the same cookie to every scene.
Yeah, I keep saying, it needs to be seen. I really enjoy Troll 2, but I don't think Troll 2 is a movie that needs to be seen.
No. It's not an essential movie, but I think there is something essential about Fateful Findings.
I do too. Like, I will call it like somewhat essential viewing. And that's, I guess, the best recommendation we can give.
Sure.
But now we actually have a poll this week.
Oh.
Next week, we've got Ghostbusters coming out, so we got to do that. But the week after that, we'll have to figure out what's going on, because that's the week Star Trek Beyond comes out. And considering my vehement opinions on Star Trek Into Darkness, we owe it to our audience to do an episode on Star Trek Beyond. But the week that it's coming out, fandom is sending me to Comic-Con. So we'll probably have to like record later or put up a later episode or something. We'll figure it out, because we're definitely doing a Star Trek Beyond episode.
It just might be a little bit delayed. What days are you going to Comic-Con?
It's July 20th through the 25th.
Okay, so you fly out there on the 20th? Or?
Yes,
okay.
And I come back on the 25th.
Oh, wow. So they're not giving you a whole lot of time on the other side?
No. I think like the 20th is the preview night, but there's nothing really going on.
Yeah. So what are we polling about?
Whatever the week is after Star Trek Beyond, we looked at it and there's not much of anything coming out. We wanted to do another one of our kind of silly, I guess you could say, craptacular movies. And the two that we had talked about are Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Well, we already have one vote for Annihilation.
We do, but the other one that we got posed that I guess you could count as a vote is Commando, which you have not seen.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I love Commando.
Okay, let's put it out there. Mortal Kombat Annihilation versus Commando.
Yep, this is one where I'm torn. I mean, I think in the long run we will end up doing both, or at least, doing one for Currently Consuming or something. But yeah, I want you guys, the audience, listeners, to vote if you want to hear us do our follow-up with Mortal Kombat Annihilation, or if you want to subject Travis to the amazing awesomeness that is Commando. And I say that unironically. I genuinely love Commando.
I'm down for either.
So you need to go to chud.com and go to the comments, put in which one in the comments you'd like to see, or you can tweet at us at the Drew Reviews or at the Travis Newton, at Drew Deach. There's plenty of ways to keep up with the podcast as far as subscription. We got iTunes, Google Play. There's also services like Overcast and Stitcher. If you want to leave your comment or your choice, because we definitely like hearing recommendations anyways, because it gives us, a good backlog of stuff to do. You can go to the iTunes store, drop us a rating, because that really helps us out, and tell us what you think of the show, and drop some recommendations in, because we do keep a running list of stuff for when it's like, nothing's coming out this week. Let's pull and see what some of the listeners said. So that would help us out a great deal. But yeah, get out there and decide if we're going to have to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation or Commando. Whichever one ends up winning is going to be a fun episode. But yeah, next week, it's Ghostbusters, man. It's finally here.
The long-awaited Ghostbusters reboot. The highly anticipated Ghostbusters reboot.
I would say at this point, it's at least the greatest curiosity of 2016.
Let's not blow our slime wad until next time.
So yeah, we're going to be doing Ghostbusters, and we're going to do everything in our power to judge it on its own merits. You know what I'm really hoping for? I hope we both come out of it and we're both just like, it's okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
And that's it's we really don't have much to say about it. It's just okay. I kind of hope it's a really, it's terrible. I shouldn't say this, but it's I kind of hope it's a boring episode.
Yeah, I do hope it's uneventful, that neither of us explodes in a rage fountain.
Well, I wasn't even super ragey about it before, and now it's just I don't care.
Whatever.
I really don't care.
Anyway, what a great note to end the episode on.
Yeah,
Whatever,
get
we
ready
don't care.
for next.
Fuck off.
Get ready for next week. we can't just say how much we don't care about Ghostbusters. Go watch Fateful Findings.
Jim,